In today's fast-paced real estate landscape, success demands more than surface-level expertise. It requires insight, adaptability, proven strategies, discipline, and the ability to take risk. The Agent Brew podcast blends candid conversations with wisdom from industry leaders who've walked the path before you. Think of us as your strategic pit stop to fuel your real estate journey. From the crossroads of the world in the heart of Times Square, welcome to the Agent Brew, a podcast that percolates real estate insights. I'm your host, Eric Zollinger of Realty Co. Welcome to our viewers and listeners as we come together today to highlight a married couple in the world of residential real estate. Welcome Sean and Sarah Sadri of the Sadri Group in Irvine, California. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to see you as well.
It's a pleasure. And I'd like to point out, we met each other about a month ago. Sean, you've been a really great client of Realty Co. So we're glad to be able to bring your agent journey story to light here on the Agent Brew. So, and welcome to your wife, Sarah. Why don't we get started with your elevator pitch? Tell us what your company is today, and then we'll go back and talk about how you got started.
Well, what my elevator pitch would be is, my name's Sean. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sadri Group, a boutique brokerage. We specialize in investment properties, luxury products, and our biggest selling tool is knowing the products and the area around. We cater towards a big pool of investors as well as clients who are looking for a very specific kind of product. And as far as the actual agents go, we focus on growth and building branding for individual agents for them to be their own specific brand and their own unique farms.
That's great. And what markets are you in?
We would be in South County, Orange County. So I would probably say anywhere from Seal Beach, Huntington Beach, all the way down to San Juan, Capistrano, San Clemente. And that would be everything along the way, all the beach cities like Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, and then a little bit more inland, Irvine, where we're actually based out of at the moment, and Laguna Niguel, Aliso Viejo, Laguna Hills. So most of south of Orange County.
Got it. And how long have you had the Sadri Group? And also, Sarah, if you can mention your role.
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder of Sadri Group. I think one thing I would add is we do bring a unique approach. So I'm also a real estate attorney. So we do have that legal insight that kind of bleeds into our services that we provide at Sadri Group. It's natural. It's just an insight that we have. So we do implement it in all of our transactions for our clients, for our agents. I also have my own boutique law firm, which mainly focuses on the real estate world. So I get to work on the other aspect of things in real estate. I work with a lot of brokers and agents, representing them in various real estate, litigation matters, pre-litigation, compliance, risk management, so everything. So what's great about our businesses is they coexist together, and that allows us to bring those unique insights that apply ironically to the same field, just from a different perspective. We kind of bring that together and we merge our world, and that gives us a very unique approach here at Sadri Group.
And I guess that also allows you some downtime away from one another too, since you have two different specialties.
Yeah, you get to hop back into my law firm, brokerage for a day, and then hop back in. Yeah, it's great.
So did you found the Sadri Group together?
Sadri Group, yes, we did find it together. And we both of our businesses were simultaneously created, actually. So, that was always what I had pictured or envisioned, is that I kind of wanted to merge those two worlds that are, essentially my passions. And, we got lucky that we were able to do it, and we were able to do it together. So that was really wonderful.
Nice. So let's go back to the beginning. First, how did you guys meet? And was this always in the cards?
I have, as far as it being in the cards, as far as us meeting, I think it was more of a casual meeting in a group of friends, probably about 15 years ago. And we just, kind of met each other. We ended up being somewhat friends at first, and we were seeing other people, and and sometimes things align. And there was a time where we were both single, and me being the salesperson I am, I'm very direct. So I said, "Hey, Friday night, let's go grab a bite."
Literally, that's what happened.
I didn't use any kind of a sales pitch, but I was like, I'm just going right in for.
He gave his elevator pitch.
I gave my elevator pitch, and then, but the part that was important was that we had a general, idea of each other as far as personality and different stuff prior to starting to date. And a plus was I didn't know anybody in Orange County. I grew up in the Bay Area, so when I came down here, I was like, I know no one. She was part of a group of friends I met. I was like, great, I think I like her. And then it kind of, one thing led into us kind of, the spark was there, obviously. And once we started dating, was 7 months later, I popped the question. I was like, look, for me, I'm more of the kind of person, because I kind of knew what I wanted. So once I knew, I was like, all right, I'm going right forward. And, I sent the family in, and, kept it as, I guess, traditional as possible.
And I think one thing that really kind of brought us together was the mutual vision that we had for ourselves. Now, whether that was, personally, whether it was career wise, even though at the time we were in different, worlds, essentially, right? We always had that same vision. And I don't know if you call it manifestation. So we always talked about where we wanted to be. And, when it comes particularly to our career, this is exactly what we talked about. I remember in our first date, because he asked the question, what are your 5-year, 10-year goals, whether it's personal or career wise? This is kind of what I'm looking for myself. What are you looking for? And, there may have been a little bit of differences, but the end result was the same. So now that we've kind of seen this come to fruition, I think it's really unique. Now that I look back personally, that what we manifested kind of came about, and we're kind of living that right now. So, which is great.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow. So those are some pretty deep first date questions.
I know.
We joke about it all the time. She's like, "Were you interviewing me?" It was sushi, by the way. The first test was like, "Does she like sushi?" Because if you don't like sushi, it's a deal breaker for me. So we were having sushi. She likes sushi. She could keep up with having some sake, and I was like, "Hey, do you know what you want to do in life?" Because my whole concern was like, "Oh, does she want to just like change her career path?" She's like, "No, I want to be an attorney. Just finish my undergrad," or she was in the process of finishing her undergrad.
And I told you I want to be a real estate attorney.
Oh yeah, she was very specific. She wanted to be a real estate.
Oh my gosh.
And I was coming off the foot of doing development overseas. So when I kind of wanted, and it was right around the time where I guess the industry stateside was still down. So it wasn't something I wanted to or could get into yet. So I was like, yeah, I want to get back into it. I want to, kind of lead my way into real estate. So we kind of
found a common ground.
Yeah, we found a common ground of what we wanted to do. And it's so funny because now that I think about it, when was this? In 2014, we were already envisioning what we ended up doing in the last 3 years moving forward onwards. So less than a 10-year plan, but we stuck to it and, went through thick and thin. We definitely, made it, brought it into, willed it into existence.
I remember I told you on our date that what I would envision is having a real estate brokerage. And I was talking in a building scenario, like we get a big building. We have one area that's a real estate brokerage. We offer real estate services. And then the other side for it to be my law firm. Now we don't have that building that has both of our, that houses both of our businesses, but the structure is there. So, which is great.
Yes.
Wow. So I guess, Sarah, did you grow up where you currently live, or was that something that you were in law school there?
So I was born back in Iran, but I grew up for the most part in Orange County. And I've been there, ever since. I've been in my whole life. I've been here pretty much. I came here when I was 9 years old. So I was born elsewhere, but came here, and I've been here ever since and love it.
That's great. The reason I always like to ask that question is because so few real estate agents in the big cities actually grew up there. you being an attorney, is very easy because it's like, oh, you already have a group of relationships, right?
Absolutely.
So Sean coming from the Bay Area is starting from scratch,
Yeah.
but it sounds like you had enough years. Did you come from a different industry to get into real estate, Sean? Can you talk about what that previous stint was?
Definitely. So, going back earlier in my career, or if you want to call it, or just like my big boy job as I was was in college, I went into banking, and I kind of shifted over to new accounts and then into mortgages at the time. And this was early 2000s with Washington Mutual. They're no longer in the industry, but I was functioning there.
Wamu.
Yeah, it's WAMU, and they were big. And I was in East Bay, and my office and where I was functioning was out of Dublin, California. And after a while, I ended up kind of traveling overseas and actually going back home to Iran. And my father has a development construction company, so I was like, "Hey, this is what I want to do." So between the year '06 to 2010, I was doing mid-rise construction development in the Middle East, and it was definitely very exciting. I kind of found that to be like my passion, but it kind of worked hand in hand with our crash that we had in '07, '08, that it caught on other parts of the world probably with a 1 year and a half delay. So as the market crashed, I would say in late 2009, close to 2010 there, I was like, look, I'd rather be in a down market back home. So I want to came back to the States. So when I came back here, my idea was to bring my investment development company vision into fruition, but that was coming off a leg of a market that was down. And I was like, look, this is tough, and I need to learn the industry here. I don't know anybody in Orange County, literally knew no one. I just thought one day I visited Orange County in '07. I remember I traveled, I came to Newport Beach. It was a very cold winter back in Tehran, and it was like snowing and everything. But I came here, it was like, well, the weather's nice. There's dolphins jumping out of the water. It was like a screensaver. I was like, what the heck is this? Where is this OC? I've never. I think right around the time that show, the OC was out and everybody was watching. We were like,
Right.
where's this OC? So I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I'm here at Laguna Beach. I'm in Newport Beach. And I was like to myself, I was like, you know what? I'm going to move back and I'm going to go to Orange County. And I remember I was talking to friends I had back in Bay Area. You're like, do you know anybody there? I was like, I don't know anybody, but I like what I see. It's a beautiful place. So I had a little bit of itty bitty money in my pocket coming from a market that was down. I was like, let me just start from zero. And I quickly realized that, it's tough. I had to hit the ground running. I had to just land a job. I ended up going into property management for Irvine Company, which was the biggest property management company here in Southern California, or Orange County, and ended up being one of the biggest and best moves I did because I built a good relationship with a lot of coworkers, and that's where I built my clientele, because I was like, hey, these people they're relocating for rentals or whatnot, and they ended up trusting me because I was kind of their point of contact. I was there for a few years, and I was like, look, I got to take the leap of faith, and I exited and went into real estate, and my first, I would say, 20 transactions were clients that I basically build relationship with in property management, and that's kind of what led into pushed me, or kept me, and then pushed me into the real estate market, and
And
getting
stayed there
clients.
forever.
They stayed there for. I have clients to this date that I probably bought and sold homes for them probably 4 or 5 times, and I've built relationship with them from like 2012, 2013. So, and that's the biggest thing that I've learned is this is purely, I feel, an industry of relationship. Like it's just building those, building rapport, building a relationship, and that's what's
And
helped.
actually-
Yeah, and absolutely, and following up with people, and
Yeah.
and people's lives, they're growing. Stuff's changed. They have lifestyle changes that they want to relocate, and I'm just feel very fortunate to be a part of it, or they think of me whenever they want to transition in any shape or form. Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to say that, selling real estate is just a byproduct. We're really in the relationship industry. And so, being able to carry on those relationships is paramount. And I guess this would be a good time to ask, have you had any mentors that was your relationship building something that you learned from someone else, or was it just more instinctual?
I think a lot of it was instinct, and I think a big factor personally was because I moved from not only a changing a working kind of like a environment, but also different areas of the world. So I kind of learned quite a bit from how business is done, how relationships are kept, and I've had a few mentors along the way, and I kind of picked and chose some of the stuff that each one brought certain values. I remember, I mean, my father was a huge factor on the business side and doing stuff there. I had a leasing manager that was a very tough individual, but actually was helpful for me to understand the politics behind how different salespeople fall in different offices, where different personalities, working in, on the banking side, also understanding the finance sector stuff. But I kind of took away something very important in all of this is the interaction part with people, and they all kind of shared a common ground, and that's kind of my takeaway is how to interact with people. But I wouldn't say it's one person. I think it's just a bunch of different individuals that brought different kind of values along the way in different industries to me.
Great. And Sarah, and any particular mentors that you'd like to mention?
So I think for me, because of the unique way that I came into the industry, so I started off as a corporate business attorney. And then I kind of shifted to real estate. I always wanted to do real estate, but the way my career started, it just happened that way. I mean, corporate and business world was always something of interest as well, but it just happened that way. And because I started that way, and then I really took a deep dive into real estate law, I subsequently then went into the actual real estate, and as far as what Sean does, as a broker, but I came in it from what I learned as a real estate attorney. So I think a lot of it was natural to me because I had, you know, learned the ins and out of real estate really by practicing real estate law. So when I came and became the broker, I there were other things that I needed to learn, not necessarily to do real estate or how real estate functions, but more so, on the front facing, right? Because as a real estate attorney, you don't deal with the clients. The clients are, in so far as buying and selling, you're dealing with clients on a different issue. But I learned a lot about real estate as an attorney. So with that insight, I think it was so natural to me that I wouldn't say I had a real estate mentor. I think Sean a little bit was helpful in teaching me things that I didn't know when it came to the front end of real estate. But on the back end, I think throughout my career with people I've worked with, the experiences, because I work a lot with so many brokers and agents. Those are majority of my clients. So I picked a little bit up from them throughout that experience. And I was lucky enough to have access to all these people, and be able to kind of bring that value to my business today.
So it leads us to our next portion, which is any particular wins since you've had the Sadri group that you're particularly proud of?
The biggest win I would say is transitioning, going from being a salesperson to operations, where I could now speak with, where I used to be a team lead, now the CEO of a brokerage, where I could be successfully onboard agents and kind of build that value to get them on board to join our brokerage. And that sense of accomplishment in just not looking at a transaction as where it being just sales, but also the kind of revenue I was hoping to build to, take our brokerage to that next level. So I think the biggest thing for me is that transition over just from a salesperson and now to, I wouldn't want to say operations, but I would want to say someone will, as you become a business owner, you got to learn to put on different hats, is learning how to put those different hats on and learn to take on new responsibilities. I'm definitely open to it.
In my 25 years, I've worn so many hats. I think that's why I don't have any hair. So um, I do have to say the sales meeting that we were so privileged to be a part of, kudos, really well done, well run, well organized, and just all of the bits of advice and nuggets of information. It was just so spot on. And I'm like, wow, I really wish more brokerages imparted this kind of information to all of their agents early on, because you know one thing that stuck with me is how you're saying, don't give just one referral, right? If it's an attorney or a interior designer or anybody along the way, don't give just one. Because I worked for somebody that when I came on board with her 25 years ago, she was just coming off of being sued because she gave one attorney and that person felt like they weren't being represented. So, cover yourself, and especially if you're working for a developer, never give just one.
Yeah,
So,
especially
um,
now, right now, I just feel that based on experience, real estate disputes are on the rise. I can't pinpoint the exact reason why. It could be shift in industry. It could be people are just more aware, more knowledgeable about these things and their rights, their duties, and that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, it is on the rise. So I think one thing that lacks in the industry when you first come in as a new agent is lack of that insight, right? Where you're coming into a very heavily regulated industry, right? And yet the support or the tools are not given to you by the books you have to read to take the tests are not really, it's just not there. So I think a lot of agents come in underestimating what really encompasses a real estate, right? It's not just getting the client, getting the sales, but it's also doing it the right way, and protecting yourself, right? To keep yourself in business, right? So a long term, essentially.
I'm just remembering here from our sales meeting that we were with you. Just to put this in context, you know, again, so sad to hear about the devastating fires in your markets, and just the way that you were speaking with your agents about dealing with sellers and property owners, and just buyers that will come in, and just the new regulations that you have to be careful of, for instance, the insurance. So I guess what is one of your current takeaways as far as you talk about litigation on the rise? Is there any other area that you see of concern, or that the agent should be aware of in your market?
I think for the most part, always majority of the litigation was encompassed around disclosures, right? I think that's kind of where the meat of all litigation happens is something went wrong in the disclosures. But the other part of it, I would say, is where agents underestimate is the fiduciary duty part, right? Because a lot of agents don't really understand what that means, right? Coming into the industry, what does that really mean? And I think some of the main issues I see are things where, when I talk to agents, the agent kind of goes like, I didn't know I had to do this. I had no idea, right? It's not written somewhere. It's not advice. It's just that they're like, I really didn't know. It's a very honest mistake that quickly turned into a legal dispute. So I think the part of the lack of the training a little bit in the industry to make sure agents are doing or are knowledgeable, right? They don't underestimate their duties, or they're knowledgeable as to what those are. I think that's one area that I'm seeing more cases come about, and a lot of it, encompasses your average buyers, right, who are not particularly familiar with the real estate transaction. They come in heavily relying on you as the expert, but then the agent somehow middle of the way fails that, not intentionally, but because they thought they were doing their job the way they're supposed to do it because they get that lack of guidance. So I think being able to, and what we do is, because I have that insight, I'm able to provide saying, hey, agents, don't do this because trust me, it doesn't end well, right? So I think having that insight both for our agents, but essentially it also bleeds into protecting our clients. It's really one of the biggest values that we bring on. And I think slowly, as I'm talking to brokers a lot, they're now realizing, okay, we have to change the game a little bit in our brokerage, or we have to make sure our agents are very well versed in what they're doing, because again, it is a heavily regulated industry, and a lot of agents, not at their own fault, they're just not equipped for it.
You bring up a very good point. I'm always amazed and shocked, I guess, and dismayed when you have a buyer and you take them to somebody's exclusive listing and you say and you inquire, why are they moving? And so many agents will just tell you, oh well, they disclose personal information, which I question. Did you get permission to say that from your seller? Because you just gave away the whole strategy, and I find that very interesting. So Sean was able to give us a win. Do you have a particular win that is important to you?
So I would say maybe two wins. I think the first one really being the leading way into me getting into the real estate industry was landing my first executive position in a real estate brokerage, a mid-sized real estate brokerage, where it really opened the door into me getting, deeper and deeper into real estate. And that's really essentially when I started, practicing real estate law, never looked back. But essentially, that's when I started to work with a lot of brokerages and agents. And so I think that was a big win for me, because it set me into the path that I intended to be on. Again, I started in a different path, not intentionally, but it nevertheless learned a lot. But this was where I wanted to go. So it was really great to have that. So that was a big win for me. And the second win for me, I would say, is due to circumstances that happened. It kind of, my plan of opening a brokerage, like I told you, was always there. It just wasn't as soon as I wanted it to be, right? It was maybe a 5 to 10 years down the road kind of a goal for me. But it happened sooner because of circumstances that happened, which essentially pushed me to just, pull off the Band-Aid and say, you know what, we got to do it. It's now or never. So, and that's kind of where I am. And I consider that a big win, because sometimes they say things that happen in your life, even if at that moment they don't necessarily look like a positive outcome, essentially sometimes put you right where you need to be. And that's exactly what happened here.
So was that a transformation? Would you call that a transformational loss that ended up being a win?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that would be a transformational loss that was unexpected, kind of out of nowhere, but it ended up working out for the best. And something that I didn't expect, but it ended up being, for the best, which is why I'm here today.
Well, good.
Yeah.
And how about you, Sean? Any transformational losses that ultimately turned out to be a win?
Uh, Probably very much similar, but right before I got into real estate. And this is usually what I even point out to newer agents that reach out to me. They're like, "Hey, Sean, I kind of see the path you went, and I want to take that." Is when I was in property management, I was there for a few years. I built a good book of clients, and I had a decent salary that was comfortable. And the comfortable is the tough part, because you got to leave comfort to create something else. I knew this wasn't my passion. It was more a product of the time, where I was like, look, I gotta, start working to build something and then go there. I was like, look, I want to get back into real estate. And I took the leap of faith. I left a steady job with a base salary and a decent income, and all sorts of neat little perks that they would have offered me or did offer me, for basically the unknown. And that unknown was a very tough first year, I have to say it. But if I didn't do it, it wouldn't have built the character. I wouldn't have learned what it really takes to be in this industry. And that's something that I quickly realized. I said I try to do it part-time, and that's why I tell the newer agents, I was like, you can't do this part-time. It's like a 9 to 5 or a career or whatever you want to look at, however, whatever lens you want to take a look at it. That was that big move for me, and it was a very tough one. And if I look back to it, I wouldn't change it, because if I didn't do it, I wouldn't have really understood what it takes, or whether I have what it takes to get in this industry. And that's why we have such a big turnover, or I wouldn't even say turnover. A lot of people kind of get their license but don't really pursue it. And this is the part where it was a big change for me, and I'm so happy. And I mean, now I'm going through different changes, but that was the big one for me. Yeah.
No day is ever the same in real estate,
No,
right?
At all.
there's all the moment you think you know everything, you know nothing. It's
Never.
crazy.
Never.
Nope, nothing.
Always learning every day.
Absolutely. So this leads us to technology. Is it your friend or your foe? How much does Sadri Group utilize, say, AI or new technology to leverage the next deal?
That's a great question. I this is how I look at the industry, and this could be a little bit more of a zooming out for a second. I felt like, and agents weren't necessarily a big fan, but in the early teens, or right after, I forgot exactly what the years were, the likes of the Zillow and the Redfin and everything like that came, and that it quickly developed this sector, which would be what we consider the iBuyers, where there are these buyers looking online, they're looking on these different platforms, they feel very well aware, and versed about how the market is, or assessing and all that stuff is. And that's where agents had to quickly show their value in a different way. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of people out there thinking that they have a lot of information, but where we're going to shine is basically giving them more accurate, specific to the track, to the home, to the style, to the
human
product. Yeah, the human element. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing, where you could go in and, punch in, I want a 3-bedroom, I want 2,000 square feet, I want so-and-so, I want this school district, versus someone understanding what kind of open concept they want, if it's a certain direction property they want, if what the growth rate in the area is, a lot of different stuff. Or what I'm big in on the numbers. I was like, look, for sellers, I weigh in on that sold property analysis to kind of speak on the days on market for their specific home, kind of differentiating different stuff, where they're not like just saying, hey, right down the block sold for X amount of dollars, that's my expectation, is really getting down to the value of price per square foot. And what I thought was how we could kind of take this and bring it into our own tools, where products, where we could kind of and I'm seeing that iBuyer sector, by the way, kind of die down, because people are kind of going back to the relationship thing, but they still like what they got from it. They're like, hey, I like information, these pieces of details that each one brought. Didn't ever think one platform specifically was perfect, but I felt there was a lot of pluses to kind of add on. So we actually launched our own app end of last year, the Sadri Group app, and it kind of brings in a little bit of all these different things. We've included ways to get a complimentary assessment for your property. We have partner investors that buy the properties cash, so we have those options for them. So if
It's an improved version of those platforms. Like, even using the Sadri Group app, the client doesn't have to worry about their data being sold, about random people calling them, pulling their data. It's a really good ecosystem where they can communicate with us through there. So I think for us, and correct me if I'm wrong, but our goal is that we love technology, right? We want to use it where we think it makes things efficient. It's helpful to the client. It provides transparency. It provides information. It enhances the service, essentially, right? With the understanding that we don't want it to replace, right? What the core values of Sadri Group is, which is, we are the experts. We are that. It's an addition to that, right? It's meant to add value and not necessarily replace. So we are reliant on it as a brokerage to enhance our services, because we do think technology should be used when it could provide and add value. So we're definitely for it. And as far as technology, I mean, I live with my phone. I mean, it's like right here. It doesn't leave my side. This is like my best friend, because I could literally do everything. I'm always on the go. So I can do everything and anything on my phone.
Care to share what model you have?
Oh, my phone?
Yeah.
It's an iPhone 16.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks to Sean. He's the tech guy here. Always tries to make sure I have the most recent, up-to-date technology.
She keeps breaking her phone, so she always has the most up-to-date phone. So she's very up-to-date
It's
for that.
strategic.
She always gets it. But to piggyback on what Sarah said, so we're all about embracing technology. We've implemented AI in our CRM. We provided tools to our agents to be able to utilize these smart tools to, be able to communicate with clients. But the most important thing that I always like to tell people is embrace technology, take on all these things that are there, but don't eliminate the human factor in all of this. So we're providing all of these things, but if you call our company, you get a hold of a person. If one of our clients or our agents are going to a presentation, it's a person. It's not some automated system to make it like a seamless online order. It's about bringing all of that, but also having a person that the person can go to and say, hey, this is Sean, this is Sarah, this is so and so, but they're providing me with all these tools, and I don't need to feel like it's just like every other platform or experience out there, where I think it's great. You have to embrace it, but I still think at the end of the day, that whole iBuyer era I was talking about, we're coming right back to who do you know, who do you trust, who's going to be able to best represent you in this industry, or in maybe your largest, biggest financial commitment in your life, that has the tools, but at the same time you trust them. They understand you on a personal level more than anything else.
So, would you say on your day-to-day routine, are you both very ritual oriented, meaning you do the same thing every day to start the day? Or do you have a group of things like the gym, doing certain tasks or chores that you just know you have to get them done, and they kind of fall wherever they need to throughout the day?
So I would say I was specifically very routine based before kids. And then when kids came, chaos was introduced. And because of that chaos, I had to learn to improvise.
Chaos is routine, by the way.
So now, our new normal is, I think him and I always have a daily goal of what we intend to hit that day. And normally we kind of come up with it the moment we wake up and grab our coffee after we drop off the kids, because when the kids are there, I can barely drink my coffee, so much to think about what I'm going to do that day. So once the kids are, taken care of, we kind of sit there and we're like, okay, this is what we need to tackle. This is what I need to do personally. He says, this is what I need to do personally. And, having both of the businesses, I try to take the morning, right, to get some personal items, whether that's the gym, running errands, done early morning. And then I try to get to my law firm items, half of the day. And then the rest of the day, him and I kind of start collaborating and talking about, okay, what do we need to get done today as far as the brokerage? And I know during the week, typically our routine, one of the routines is, we work from home most of the part, right? Most of the week, but we do have 2 or 3, depending on the week, field days. Now that doesn't necessarily mean, if we have a client, meeting, that's not what I'm talking about of a field day. A field day is just a random day. We either, want to take our agents to do some field training, whether we want to encourage the brokerage to do like, let's go, door knocking, encourage our agents, let's go do this and that, which is the beauty of having a boutique brokerage, because you can have that personal level, participation. And the other aspect of it, network. We just get out there, we go to broker opens, we get out there and just talk to people. We love interacting with people. We think it's really important in this industry to, know people, because it's a big and yet small industry, right? I don't know, at least that's how it is here where we are. So I think it's always important to keep building those networks and relationships, because you never know when you need to call in a favor.
It's exactly. So, Sean, what about you? Are you very regimented in the morning? Do you do the same thing every day, or is it
I do, but yeah, I kind of wing a few stuff because I found that if I try to set it in stone, it might not pan out like to the T. So I get up very early every day. I have different routines in the morning that I get myself ready for the rest of the day. I found that instead of a daily goal, I actually, in the professional realm, I set up a weekly goal for myself, and I divide up certain kind of tasks amongst the week. And then my daily goals are more for personal development stuff that I try to keep that because there's certain stuff you could control on the personal level. But the business stuff, I'm like, kind of give myself, this is what I'm going to do throughout the week. Similar to what Sarah mentioned, we do have days where we have caravans, broker previews, door knocking, we have listing presentations. So I try to be very hands on with the team. I'm more on the front end of stuff, and I'm very much involved. So where it becomes more difficult on the daily task is because I'm a lot of times on call, and being in the industry we are, I could schedule something right now, but all of a sudden I got to be at a presentation in Newport Coast. I'm like, I'm not going to miss that opportunity. So I'm going to make myself available and ready for it. So I'm more, the routine that I like to stick to is that early morning one where I could get a certain level of, if it's morning workout, if it's just the morning, getting myself reset and on the right mindset for what I need to get done. But I find that I get a lot of my emails and stuff done early in the morning, or you won't get a hold of me till a little bit later because I got to start going out and about. And I think a good, successful agent is not necessarily sitting behind the desk. They're really out there. So I'm trying to, both for myself and our team, encourage to be both the person that's going to be on top of whatever that follow up is for with your clients or getting new clients, but also being out in the field. And as we are planning to launch our new location in the near future, our goal is to get our agents acclimated with the area and also be that front facing and be like just talk with everybody. Because I think speaking and going out and talking with agents, and half the success I've achieved was just simply building good rapport with agents. It's building that kind of rapport with other people. And I think I don't want to call it the lost art, but a lot of people don't value it as much or understand how important it is to kind of build good connections with fellow peers, not necessarily in our brokerage, out there. I mean, it's a huge industry. You got to get to know who's out there, who's specializes in what field or a farm or an area or an industry. And like what Sarah said, as big as it is out there, it's just a few names that are doing a lot of the deals. So you wanna be able to at least be a familiar face or name.
I would also say though, and we always advise our agents that in the real estate industry, right? I think it's important to establish some kind of a routine because it's not like a job where you just show up. You have to be somewhere at a certain hour and you leave at a certain hour of the day, right? Especially if you're one of those people that needs some sort of a discipline, right? Because you got your different personality of people. And it's good to set a routine because that kind of keeps you accountable, right? Now, whether that's daily, weekly or monthly, right? Or even quarterly, but some sort of a routine or a goal that you hit, both I think on personal level and especially how busy people's lives are. I think even on a personal level, you should have some sort of a routine because then you just lose track of time.
So, what would you say is your special sauce for your success as a couple and as a brokerage? Because it's not easy for spouses to work together.
That's a good question, because I get that question a lot, personally too. People ask me, "How is it working with your husband? Like, do you guys just want to like tear each other apart?" uh, and I think for it's not for everybody. I would say that. I think there are some couples that need that, that break from their personal life and their career, and then for us, I think the reason why it works is we keep our eye on those goals that I told you when we met. And we kind of forget about the little things that come up that we need to like bicker about. We just don't do that, right? And I think we bring, we are not two of the same people, right? We don't bring the same expertise and value to butt heads in this industry. We bring different ones. And I think that's why we tend to not step on each other's toes. We tend to help one another and kind of complete where one lacks. So I think that's really helpful. I think a lot of times, naturally, whether you're a couple, you're business partners, you have two like-minded people that want to go in the same industry, but that also comes with its challenges because one says, well, I know how to do this better, I know I've been in, and so you get into that whole combating that difficulty, where I think a lot of times actually in business, it's you should have like-minded goals, right? But I think it's good where two people bring different values so that you don't kind of step into each other's realm and you still have some sort of a separation in a way, right? Even though you're working together. So I would say that would be, it's the fact that we bring different values to the table, and that's kind of and having the same goals, essentially, it's what keeps us grounded.
Well, she's got the risk assessment element. I got the optimistic risk taker. So but you got the
That has changed over the years, I have to say. It be a lot more riskier when I met him.
very
Yeah, and I think over the years of him having insight into my business, he's like, oh no.
I got to remind people. I was like, did you get it in an email? I need you to, whatever that phone conversation was, they reiterated it in an email. But I think that's a huge factor. I think the importance in all of, especially with couples working together, is I think if you could kind of take the couple element out and just be respectful as far as what the other person is, their input, and not say, oh, I know better than you, or like remember some
that
other
power struggle.
just removing that from there. So when me and Sarah got our work hats on, we have zero personal kind of conversations or anything for kind of holding on to from other stuff going on. It's purely that at hand kind of, whether it's
we got to handle business.
We got to handle business. So it's like, I was like, look, this is my approach. I trust your input on this, and her input, I fully trust what she has to put in there. And it's that
it took some time to build that, by the way.
Trust. It was hard for me, but I think that helps, especially if there are going to be couples that are planning on, exploring, doing real estate together, is basically trusting your partner, similar to like if you are a team or something, and understanding that each person has a certain level of knowledge or value or an approach. Because like salespeople, I always love when we're in the office and I could hear one of the agents, their sales pitch, my sales pitch. I keep learning. I was like, my gosh, I love that approach, or I love that way of overcoming some sort of pushback. So Sarah would say something differently, I would say something differently, but then I was like, as we're talking together, I was like, I can see like this approach might be better, or maybe if I have a different kind of approach, and we kind of
meet in the middle,
and if we feel one direction is in, let's say, a transactions or approach to an issue is better, we absolutely trust each other in that, and take.
But I also think important enough is to have fun. Yeah. Right. I think that's the biggest thing, is to also have fun in doing it. And I think for him and I, it's really easy to do that because we love what we do, right? So I think it's easy for us to have fun and make it a, fun experience. And I think that's really important, both in personal life and I think business as well.
100%.
Great. So from there, I always like to ask everybody on our shows, and it's my favorite part. If you could give your young agent self a piece of advice, what would it be?
I think for me, it would be be open to taking more risks, instead of waiting for circumstances to push you to do certain things, and kind of believe in yourself a lot more, right? Because I think for me personally, some of these big career moves that I took were circumstantial, in the sense of I was pushed to go do that, right? I didn't just wake up and say, I'm going to take this big risk today, right? I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to go open a brokerage and I'm going to go do this, right? I mean, it was always my goal, but executing that, right? I'm always so cautious and conservative and worried. And I think what I would advise myself is be those things, be smart, don't take, risks that aren't, that you shouldn't be, but take smart risks. Nevertheless, take the risk, because if you don't, someone else will do it and they'll succeed, and you'll stay back, you'll stay behind, right?
That's such a great piece of advice. I mean, I think that will resonate with a lot of people. I know it does for me personally. That's you're the first person to actually say that on our podcast, and I'm so glad, because it's always been my biggest, not regret, but you look back and you're like, what were you afraid of?
Yeah.
Just do it, take the risk.
Yeah.
And so, Sean, what about you?
Similar in the risk factor, but I think the biggest thing I would tell myself with the experience and everything that I've kind of picked up along the way is real estate. Don't look at which brokerage you're in, which team you land, and what opportunities they create for you. Don't be afraid to create your own opportunity. And it took me a little bit, and going back to what helped me build where I was I looked at the industry as, if I land being somewhere with a name, a brand, a team, or whatever, that's going to help with my success. And if I could go back to myself and say, hey, you have your own book of clients, get on the phone, call them, let them know what you're doing. Just do the work. You don't, and that's what I would, and this isn't to speak on agents today, and I'm sure this would resonate with most people. It's not a product of a certain time. It's just, I've realized I held my success level in my own hands, and I just had to do it sooner. It's like, hey, just call the people, just be like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I specialize in, and this is what I do. And to where I was doing, where I would have considered part-time, is to just take the leap of faith, accept it. And it took a little bit of that transition for me at the time, is that the industry is not a part-time industry. And I had to understand it by going through the grievances and the difficulties and the financial uncertainty. And I appreciate it just simply by knowing that, and pushing myself to be like, just do it. It's like a Band-Aid. You got to rip the Band-Aid off. If this is the route you want to go, get on the phone, make those calls, just create your own brand. That's the best thing I would tell my younger agent self trying to get in this industry.
That's again, great advice. Curious if you have any favorite books or inspirational quotes over the years that have really resonated with you.
For me, it's, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think the reason why that sits well with me, it's because, in our lives, we spend majority of our times working, right? Most people spend a lot of their time, a lot of their lives working. And I think it's important to love what you do, because if majority of your day is spent working, right? And if you, in the case of you're taking time away from your family or sacrificing other things to be here, right? And be at your job, to love it, because life is short. I think it's really important that where you spend your majority of time, you should be loving either the thing that you do, the people you're around. But I also do believe that if you naturally love what you do, success will follow, because you love it so much. You're so passionate about it that maybe in a normal scenario you wouldn't be motivated to push yourself or do certain things, but because you want it so bad, you will, right? And I don't think it's the only secret sauce of success, but I think it's a really important one. And not a lot of people are lucky, unfortunately, to have that, right? Or to be able to pursue the exact thing that they love. And then there are a lot of people who are. I think that's the reason why I would say that would be my favorite quote.
Very good. Curious to know the next 5 years, 10 years, what's in the cards for the Sadri Group? Do you have any particular goals or where do you see the company going?
So I think, and feel free to add, but I think that for the most part, Sean and I have always had this view of we want Sadri Group to represent quality and not quantity. We are not here to count heads. We want to provide quality, either support or resource to the agents or the people that work for us, or to the clients that do business with us. And so, for us, because of that quality, I think we intend to scale, but only to a certain amount where we can still maintain that level of quality and participation in our business, the hands-on boutique approach. Um, but also, I think where we want to take it eventually is we want to take Sadra Group in a direction of, possibly down the road to become also an investment property company as well, to actually invest in properties on its own. So that's kind of, and I know that part of it stems from Sean because he is our, investment expert. He works with a lot of investors, and we just know that one day that's kind of the direction that we want to go on our own, not just representing investors in investment, but making the investment ourselves.
Being more involved. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to watching the trajectory over the years. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with you when I'm out in LA in the coming months.
Yeah, we're looking forward
So
to
thank you, Sean and Sarah, for being part of the Agent Brew. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to having you on future seasons and episodes. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
appreciate
for
you having
having
us,
us. This was great.
This was amazing. Thank you so much.
So we always like to end on a positive quote. And I chose this one specifically for Spouse Week. A great marriage isn't something that happens. It's something that must be created. And that's by Fan Weather. I look at the two of you, and it's just so inspiring to see what you guys have created and continue to create. So well done. I know many of us would not be able to work with our spouse. So continue the great work. And everyone, we look forward to seeing you on future episodes of the Agent Brew. I'm Eric Zollinger, your host, reminding you it's a great day for real estate. The Agent Brew podcast is brought to you by RealtyCo. RealtyCo is your partner in real estate, bringing you game-changing benefits and services to empower your business. Visit realtyco.com for more information.